Hello and welcome to the weekly Squeal. This week's episode is brought to you by the Starship Repo book series by William Tate. Some say it's the greatest science fiction book series ever written, a perfect 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Some authors never ever come close to 5 stars. Well, it's officially over. The New Republic has retracted huge portions of Seth Simon's libelous tome, The Comedy Industry Has a Big Alt-Right Problem. Turns out, there was no problem at all, because it was all based on a hilarious troll job. Here's the basic history. In November 2020, SpaceEdge, a user on the hugely popular onaforums.net, reached out to Seth Simons to give him secret information on a user of the forums known as Toxic Cis White Male Fat. That's actually my handle, but we'll get back to that later. SpaceEdge told Seth that the user was comedy club owner Cris Italia, a man that Seth had previously targeted months before for having the Legion of Skanks perform a live podcast at his club during New York City's oppressive grandma flu restrictions. Naturally, this piqued Seth's interest. The user Toxic Cis White Male Fat, aka me, volunteered to pretend to be Cris and write some theatric posts on the secret forum that would kinda sorta link to Cris. However, Toxic Cis White Male Fat made it a purpose to not explicitly say I was Cris Italia. I never outright said I was Cris. I just implied that there's a big possibility I could be Cris. For the record, I don't know Cris personally, and I'm really sorry all this happened because he seems like a genuinely good fella. The point from the beginning was to troll Seth into the shadow realm so he would never touch the legs of female comedians ever again, and never write hit pieces that could derail the careers of comedians like he did with Shane Gillis. Hopefully, in the end, the O&A Forums boys did more good than harm, and I firmly believe they did. Back to the story. By December 2020, SpaceEdge had Seth putty in his hands. He had Seth fully convinced that Toxic Cis was Cris, even though Seth reached out to Cris and Cris denied being Toxic Cis, let alone even knowing about the forums. The hook was firmly entrenched into Seth's beak. Seth was basically creaming himself over the prospect of ruining Chris's life and putting a huge financial dent in the stand. In Seth's eyes, he had indeed uncovered the Nazi roots of New York City's comedy scene. In early February 2020, the New Republic published Seth's piece to worldwide intrigue. It was one of the site's most popular articles of the year. Celebrities like Tom Arnold and Anthony Jeselnik shared it on Twitter, and thousands upon thousands of social media lemmings passed it to their none the wiser followers. All along, only a handful of people from the forums knew about SpaceEdge trolling Seth. It was a tightly knit operation, and no one told anyone outside the forum for months. With the success of the publication, Seth was on cloud 9. Finally, he had published a huge expose that not only caught the attention of the masses, but achieved what he set out to do from the beginning: get revenge on the comedy scene that had expelled him for lack of talent. To get revenge on Cris Italia himself. The bird poet had it made. But all of it was fake. Then, in September 2020, a full 8 months after the piece went live, SpaceEdge published the true story of what went on at apostlegate.net. It was a bombshell, and everyone loved it, especially Louis J. Gomez. All of the facts were now out, and Cris Italia was free from the clutches of media lies. Almost. The New Republic only posted a weak editor's note that didn't even retract Chris's name. Cris lawyered up, and by February 2022, a full year after the article was published, the New Republic took out all parts referring to Cris in the stand. Battle won. On behalf of the Weekly Squeal, I want to say congratulations, Cris. You never deserved this, but I do believe in the long run, you were part of an important footnote in the history of American comedy culture. A small, yet not insignificant push toward righting the ship toward righteousness and truth. Beating back the creeping leftist fascism that slithers through our institutions like a sex pest in the night. Oh, and Patrick S. Tomlinson is fat. He is also a prime suspect in the slaying of Burnell Trammell. Here are the facts. In late July 2020, the Milwaukee police released a picture of the suspected killer riding his bike to shoot Burnell in the head on January 23, 2020. The moment the photos were released, various members of the O&A forums immediately thought the perp looked kinda like Pat. The police said the suspect was 6 feet tall, like Pat. The suspect's body shape was eerily similar to Pat's as well, including the fat and the hunchback. This was enough for a bit of investigation. 1 hour after the shooting, Pat posted this photograph on Twitter and Facebook. As you can see, he looks fucking deranged. His eyes are glassy and his skin is bright red, as if he just exerted himself and experienced severe panic. Blushing is sometimes a response to high anxiety and stress, and as you can see, it's all over his face. Why would he post this selfie wearing a Captain America mask? As an alibi, of course. If he was clearly at home during the shooting and had proof of it, then he'd be axed as a suspect. The problem is he took this photo just an hour after the shooting, so it's not an alibi at all. It's just more proof. So here's the score. Pat's the same height, the same ballpark weight, and has the same hunchback. He's also a concealed carry permit holder with 5 guns and a history of promoting violence on Twitter. The suspect used a bike as a getaway vehicle, and Pat owns a similar black bike. He lives within biking distance just across the river from East Wright Ave, where the shooting occurred. More circumstantial evidence includes paying off his motorcycle with suspected PPP fraud money the day before. He also drove up to his in-laws' cabin a week or so after the shooting, and the cabin was right near the Canadian border, where he could flee if shit hit the fan. He wrote a creepy-ass tweet saying, quote, "Nature is healing," a few hours after. He has a demonstrable hatred of black conservatives, including Sheriff David Clark, Alan West, and others. He sincerely believed in the year 2020 that America was in the middle of a serious civil war that had the potential for all-out violence. The week of the shooting, President Donald Trump was threatening to send the National Guard to Milwaukee because liberals were chipping out hard over a black guy getting shot for charging an officer with a knife after sexually assaulting a woman. Let's be clear, we here at the Weekly Squeal are not explicitly saying that Patrick S. Tomlinson killed Burnell Trammell. We're merely saying that there is a substantial amount of behavioral and circumstantial evidence that points to a strong possibility that it could be him. A real strong possibility. And it's sure as hell more evidence than Seth Simons had against Cris Italia. This past week, O&A Forums user Brian Gilcor, critic of the Weekly Squeal but all-around good egg, found that Patrick knew who Burnell Trammell was as far back as 2018. This was a breakthrough find because we didn't know for sure that Patrick knew who Burnell was. But now we know. You hear that, Patrick? That's the sound of the justice train. It's coming down the tracks. Anyway, congratulations to Cris Italia for the lawsuit results. And to Seth, we hope you learned a valuable lesson about defamation and being mean to people. It's just not nice. This has been the Weekly Squeal. Please like and subscribe, and be sure to tune in for the next one. Bye.
Shut your fucking mouth!